Moving on from basic HTML, we will now learn about basic CSS. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet. Now we are talking about web design. Web design involves the planning and arranging contents on a web page. Now a combination of aesthetic and functional elements, so the choice of color, fonts, and graphics will make the web appealing to the user. Previously, we mentioned that the HTML file contains the head segment and also the body segment. In the head segment, we have the title. Now we will introduce the opening tag for the style and the closing tag for the style. All the styling will be kept within the head segment. Next, we want to talk about the use of color. We use color for our fonts, we use color for the border, we use color for the background. So we need to understand how color influence people's behavior and mood. And sometimes different color are being associated to a particular meaning or sense they provide. So to create a successful design, you need to be aware of how color is being used. Okay, understanding the color choice can influence your user emotional response. You may read more about it at this website. Now we will not go deep into these 7 key color theories and terms. Now it is for you to go and read up, learn something about the color wheels, color relationship, whether it's a warm or is it a cool color, the RGB, CMYK, and the hexadecimal. Tints and shades, hue, saturation, lightness, and contrast. There are also predefined colors so that we can just use the color name. There are altogether about 140 predefined color, which you can find under this w3schools.com. There are other ways to denote a particular color using the RGB, okay, red, green, blue, or the hexadecimal value, or the HSL, hue, saturation, lightness. Now we will be using mostly the predefined color or the hexadecimal value. Now what is a hexadecimal value of a color? Now basically it uses 6 digits to represent the 3 color. The first 2 digits are red, the second 2 digits are green, and then the next 2 digits blue. Using hexadecimal, the 2 digit can represent anything from 00 all the way to FF. Now that means that there are altogether 256 shades of red. Likewise, we have 256 shades of green, 256 shades of blue to choose from. Now putting all these combinations of colors, we can generate altogether about more than 16 million color of different shades. I'll take for example, if let's say we have 00 for red, and 00 for green, what is left behind is a full 256. That means blue is fully lit up, so this will be a dark blue color. This is the highest value of blue that you can find. Okay, so that is how we represent a color using the hexadecimal. Now we will start to create our first HTML file with styling. I will guide you step by step to do that. Now, if you follow closely the video recording, you will generate altogether 25 HTML files. So please follow the video closely and the PDF file provided to you. Save each one of them into a separate file. The text that we'll be using for our exercise is given in the Toy Story text for Basic CSS. Now let's create our first HTML file. Create a new text document. Rename this to 1A format text with colors .html. Yes, we want a HTML file. Double click to open it. We will now write the code for this HTML. Now in all HTML file, there will be an open tag, of HTML and a closing tag of HTML. There is a head and the closing head. There is the body and closing body. Okay, let's give a title to this HTML file, and let's put that in the head. Title. We shall call this 1A, text with color. Close of the title. Okay, where shall we get the body contents? You may open up the Toy Story text for Basic CSS. Copy the text and paste that into the body segment. Here we go. Okay, let's decide to have the Toy Story as H1. And then the characters, we will use the H2. For the rest, we will now just put it as a paragraph. Let's save this file. Now we shall take a look at what have we created. Open the browser. Drag and drop this file into the browser. There it goes. This is what we have learned in our basic HTML. Now let's put some color to the header H1. Now under the head segment, let's create a style, open and close that style. We will now define the choice of color for H1 using the open curly brace and specify that the background color to be light gray, semicolon, and then the color of the text to be blue. We will close with a curly brace. Instead of using the predefined color blue, you may choose to use the hexadecimal value for the RGB 0000FF. That will be blue also. Okay? I can put a comment to specify that this is blue. Let's save the file using Ctrl S. Let's call out the browser. Refresh. Now you can see that the background is now light gray and the text is blue color. Okay, we have successfully created our first HTML file with CSS. Okay, for typography, we will be looking at the choice of fonts, including the size and even the type, whether is it italic or bold. Now, in putting them together on the web page, it will be able to help the reader organize and also see the hierarchy of the whole layout. Next, we'll be doing the text alignment for H1. We will continue from where we left off from 1A. Using the file that we've created for 1A, let's save it as 1B and change the file name to format text alignment. Now, you must remember to change this to all files and indicate that this is a .html file. Save. Now we're going to change the alignment for H1. So in the styling, we will indicate that the text align as center. Save. Call out the browser. And then drag and drop this HTML file into the browser. You'll realize that Toy Story, which is the header, H1, is now center aligned. Let's talk about font family. There are five major grouping. So for the serif, they create a sense of formality and elegance. Sans serif, they create a modern and minimalist look. Now this is a kind where it's easier to read on a computer screen. There are some cases where we need some monospace. For example, when we do coding, we use the monospace fonts like Korea New because they create a very mechanical look. Cursive fonts resembles human handwriting, and then we have the fantasy fonts which are more for decorative. We will now create another HTML formatting our H1 and H2 using two different fonts. For H1, we'll be using the Time New Roman. Now, Time New Roman, there's three words, so we need to include the open and close quote. Whereas the area is a single word, there's no need to open and close quote for the H2 header. Okay, let's save as, change the file name to format text with font type, and then change it to all files and the extension .html. Save. For the title, we may also want to change it to 1C, text with font type. For H1, we will be using the Time News Roman font family. And for the H2, we will now define the styling for H2, open curly, font family, area, close curly. Okay, once you're done, save, call out the browser. This is the default fonts, and we're going to change it to Arial. You will see the difference. And then this is also the default font, and now we are changing to Time Roman. Drag and drop. Okay, so you can recognize the Arial type of fonts, whereas Toy Story is in Time News Roman. Besides choosing the font, we can also set the size. Okay, there are three ways of naming the size. One is by pixel, the other one is by the EM, and also the other one is by percentage. But we will keep to pixel to define our size. So for H1, the font size I will define as 60 pixel. 60 pixel is equivalent to, if you divide by 16, that is 3.75 EM. So instead of writing 60 pixel, you could have written as 3.75 EM. Or if you want to, you can write 375%. Okay? Because the default size is 16. So let's put 60 pixel. And then for the H2, we want it to be smaller, to be at 30 pixel. Don't forget your semicolon. Save as 1D, format text with font size. 1D, the title, text with font size. Okay, we are done. Let's call out the browser. These are the default size 16. You can see that the 1D is actually a text document. So what we need to do is to change the file type. Go to View, look at the file name extension. You will see that this is .txt. Change it to .html. Okay, yes, we want to change the file type. And this is the HTML file that we have edited. Let's call out the browser. And let's throw this file into the browser. Okay, so this H1 is size 60 and H2 is size 30. Next, I want to introduce you to two way of grouping the format. One is a dot class, and the other one is using the ID. First, let's go by the dot class. Now, in your styling, if you put dot italic, so subsequently, you just need to say class equal to italic for whichever segment of the content you can actually use the italic styling. We will do that for the paragraph. Save as 1E text with class. Okay. Remember to save it as all files. Save. So that will be a HTML file. I will put the dot italic, open curly. We will set the font style to be italic, and then let's define the color to be red. Close with curly brace. Now let's try to use italic for the first paragraph. Okay, so first paragraph will be from Sheriff all the way to Buzz Lightyear. Buzz Lightyear will be the second paragraph. So that it is /P. So that's the end of the first paragraph. And the second paragraph onwards, these are the second paragraph. Okay, so for the first paragraph, I'm going to use class equal to italic. Okay, so the first paragraph will be in italic, and at the same time, the font will be red color. Okay, when we are done with this, shall we change the title? Title is 1E, format text with class. Okay, let's save this. Let's call out the browser, drag and drop this HTML file. So you realize that the first paragraph is now italic and they are all in red. The second paragraph remains as its default format. So this is one way of grouping different segments to follow a particular style. Another way is to use the hex ID. For example, we want to define bold. So the font width will be bold and the color, let's set it to be green. Okay, and I'm going to use this formatting for our our second paragraph. Save as 1F, format with ID. Change the file type. Save. Okay, let's change the title. Format with ID. So besides italic, now I have the hex bold. Open brace, curly brace, font width, bold, and then the color, green. Close curly. Okay, so for the second paragraph, we only want to bold Buzz Lightyear. Okay, so we make use of this span, and the ID is equal to bold. So that will format according to bold, and that is only applicable for Buzz Lightyear. So we close the tag using close span. Okay, And once we've done that, let's save, call out the browser and our file, drag and drop. Now can you see that the Buzz Lightyear is now in bold and green color? The rest of the formats for the paragraph remains as the font. Oh, I have forgotten to also make the Sheriff Woody as bold. Okay, we shall do that also. Sheriff Woody and close it. So you realize that the formatting can appear within the class italic. Okay, let's save this. And then on our browser, we just need to refresh our screen. Sheriff Woody is bold and in green. Now, there is no specific reason why you should use ID or when you should use class. Okay, however, it is best practice to use ID if it only applies to one element, and then use class if it's going to be applied to multiple elements. Okay, so there's no hard and fast rule about that. Okay, okay, there are three ways of styling our HTML. First is the inline styling, which means that you put in all the formatting within the paragraph tag or any other tag, okay, to define what is the styling that you want. The other one is known as the internal styling, which we have been doing in our head portion. Uses the style tag to include our formatting. That is called the internal styling. So all the formatting is done within a HTML file. Next, what we'll be doing is this thing called external styling, meaning that we'll take this style and then save it into another file called mystyle.css. Okay, usually we keep this file in the static folder. So in the HTML file under the head portion, we just need to link the using the hyperlink reference to reference to this mystyle.css. In the case where you're using a static folder, then the hyperlink reference will be static slash mystyle.css. I will demonstrate to you shortly. So we are going to create a external CSS file called mystyle.css. Previously, we have done 1F, so let's open up this file, copy the mystyle in the head portion, copy, and then create a new file, a new text file. Call this mystyle.css. Okay, look at the file extension, view, file extension. You realize that this is a text file, so let's rename it. Delete away the .txt so that it is a .css file. Now, once you change to a .css file, it's no longer able to be edited by using the notepad. So what we need to do is to right button click and open with a notepad, okay, and paste it using the notepad. So we have the my style. Now in the slides, we also need to include this HTML height 100%. Okay, so we will include that into our external styling. HTML open brace height colon 100% and close. Okay, so we have that, and then we'll save that into our mystyle.css. Usually we will save this in our static folder. So within the static folder, you keep all the images and also the mystyle.css. In order to link to the mystyle.css, now we will edit our HTML file. I will use the 1F format with text with ID. I will use this to edit. Let me save this file as number 2, external css.html. Change the text document to all files. So this will save it as a HTML file. Save. The style segment is no longer required. Let's delete that away. What we need to include now is this line link. Okay, link is a link tag equal to, it's a style sheet, hyperlink reference, which is equal to our static slash mystyle.css, and then close the tag. And once you have done that, save the file. Save. Okay, so you realize that there is no styling in this HTML file except for this link. So all the styling actually come from mystyle.css. Let's take a look at our HTML file. Drag and drop into a browser. Now we drag and drop it into a browser. There you go. So where does all this styling come from? They came from the mystyle.css. If we want to change the formatting, all we need to do is go to mystyle.css, right button click, open with Notepad, and change the formatting. For example, this paragraph, I would like to change it to blue instead of red. I can change my italic to blue. Save mystyle.css, save, and let's refresh. There you go. So whatever you do, the changes in mystyle.css, it will reflect on the HTML file. In the event where my external CSS is not working, that means when you change the mystyle.css and it's not reflected in the HTML file, you have to go through the steps to look for the error. So refer to this particular hyperlink, and there are many checks that you can go through to rectify it. In case after going through all these steps and it still doesn't rectify, then what you can do is to create a version. Okay, we call this versioning your style sheet. And how do we do that? We add this question mark v equal to 2. V equal to 2 stand for version 2. Okay, so what we do is that let's go back to our HTML file. Over here, when we link to our mystyle.css, put a question mark and put v equal to 2. Okay, and then let's save. And let's take a look at our HTML. Refresh. We have not done any changes yet. Let's go back to our my style. From blue, let's change to red. Save. And then refresh, it changes. And uh, the next time when you change again, you may want to call this version 3, and remember to save that. And your my style, I will change to uh, purple. Okay, and let's save, refresh. So using the versioning over here, it will ensure that your new uh, changes to the format will reflect on the HTML file. Okay, I'll now introduce to you this box model. Now, basically, when we design a web page, we need to put it in place some white space. Now, white space is good for readability and then also presenting your uh, web page in a neat manner. Now, when you have some contents, those are the text content or picture content. Then when you define a border, now you need to have some space between the border and the content, and that's what we call padding. Okay, and paddings are transparent, colorless, or if it's same as a background color, that will be white color or same as a background color. Now and then between the border and to the screen, that's what we have the margin. So this whole idea about padding, border, and margin is the main concept in this box model. Now take a look at this layout without margin and padding. When reading the contents, you will find that they are all very cramped and is untidy and is also not easy to read. Whereas if you put in the necessary margin and padding, they will look more organized and then it's easier to read. On the screen wise, okay, you have the contents, you have the border, anything between the border and the contents that's called the padding. Anything between the edge of the screen to the border is called the margin. Now let's deal with the coding itself. Uh, we are going to create a border, okay, using 5 pixels, solid red line, and then we are going to use the border radius 8 pixels so that the corners are not sharp, they are all rounded. We will use the two external CSS or HTML to edit. Let's save as. We will call this file 3A text box with border. Okay, and change it the type to all file so that it be saved as a HTML file. Save. Okay, replace the link here and put back the style. So we are doing the internal styling. So you have the open and close tag for style. Dot box. Okay, and let's open brace. Uh, Border, define as a border, 5 pixel. And then we have it as solid. Later on, you can try other types of border, whether is it dotted, dash, solid, or double line border. Okay, you can try that. And the color is red, semicolon. And then we have the border radius. In the event where you want it just to be a normal kind of rectangular box, then you don't have to define the border radius. Okay, the more pixel you define, the more rounded it becomes, the corner. Okay, let's have 8 pixel. Okay, and so that's what we have. We are using the class box, but we have not yet defined which area that we are using this class. Okay, we are going to use that on our first paragraph. So class equal to italic, so we no longer use italic. Let's have it as a box. Okay, and let's save. Call out the browser, drag and drop the HTML file. There you go. You see the border. But you realize that the content is very near to the edge of the border itself because we have not yet defined the margin and padding. Okay. Next, we are going to define a padding 25 pixel. Let's continue from here. Save as 3B, yeah? And this is with border and padding. Save it as all file. Save. After the border radius, let's define the padding. I'll talk more about the padding later on. Semicolon and close. Save. Let's call out the browser. Drag and drop 3B with padding. Do you see the white space between the contents and the border? So it's more readable now. When we say padding 25 pixel, what do we mean? Now we just submit one value, so that will means that the top, right, bottom, and left are all the same 25 pixel. Okay, so the shorthand formatting when we input the padding values, it goes to by the top, right, bottom, and left. So assuming that we have 25, 50, 75, 100, 25 will be for the top padding, 50 will be for the right padding, 75 will be for the bottom padding, 100 will be for the left padding. Now, in the event where we only input three value, now once we input the three value, the first one will be top, second one will be right, the third one will be bottom. What is missing is the left. So the left will be the same as the right. So the left will be the same as the right as 50 pixel. Now what happens if we only submit two value, 25 and 50? The first one will be for the top, the second one will be for the right. So what is missing is the bottom. Bottom will be the same as the top, which is 25, and then the left will be the same as the right, 50. And if we submit only one value, that's the value for the top. And the missing one are the right, bottom, left, and they will all take the same value as the top padding. In the event where we state the padding to be auto, then it will be horizontally centralized. Okay, depending on your screen size, the size that you have defined, it will be centralized in that region. Next, we will be dealing with margin. We're going to have a margin of 25 pixel. Let's continue with our 3B and save as 3C, border, padding, and margin. Remember to save as the type as all file. Save. After padding, we're going to add in the margin, 25 pixel. This margin will be outside the border. Save. Call out the browser. Drag and drop 3C into the browser. There you see. Before that, there is no space between the border and the left edge and the right edge. But once we put in the margin, there is a 25 pixel, and depending on the top and bottom, there will be a 25 pixel. Okay? There's a 25 pixel between the border and the bottom paragraph. So we have dealt with the border, padding, and margin. So margin works the same way. The four values that you enter are for the top, right, bottom, and left. And if you only enter one value, 25, that means that the right, bottom, left will follow the top value. In the case where you state that the margin is auto, then it will no, it will horizontally centralize the element. Okay, let's work on this 3D text box with height and width. So in the event, in the case, so in this case, we are going to define the margin to be auto, height to be auto, the width to be 700 pixel. Okay, let's save as 3D text box with height and width. Remember to change the type to all files. Save. Okay, what we have here, the padding will still be 25 pixel. Margin, let's set it as auto. The height, set it as auto. And then the width, set it as 700 pixel. Save. Call out the browser. Drag and drop the file into the browser. Now you may not see the difference here. Now let's open up our browser. Now you realize that it is centralized and is 700 pixel at the center. Compare that to the previous file. The previous file, the whole width uses up the size, the width of the browser itself. But now we have defined it to be 700 pixel. Okay, so that's what's the difference between 3C and 3D. You have a height and you have a width. Okay, next we'll be talking about image gallery. So we first create a HTML file with 4 images. The 4 images are stored in a static folder. So in our image source, we need to specify the folder, which is static, slash, and then the file name. Now, each of the image should come with a description. At this point, I just write as add a description for the image here and leave it as that. Once you have done that, save it as a HTML file, call out the browser, and then drag and drop the HTML file into the browser. Okay, so you will see the 4 images and then with a description each underneath. Next, what we will do is that under the styling, we are going to set the width for the images to be 200 pixel. So let's save as 4B. Image gallery, the thumbnail size. And let's save it as all files so that it will remain as a HTML file. Okay, save. Now under the style, which is in the header, set the image open brace with 200 pixel and then close the brace. Save. Call out the browser and then we will throw the file 4B image gallery into the browser. Now you realize the width 200 pixels is of this size. compared to the original size. This is a full size and this is a 200 pixel. What we'll do next is that for the gallery, we will want to set the margin, floating everything to the left so that they will be all arranged horizontally, side by side. And the border, we use 1 pixel solid black. So let's remember to save our file, save as 4C, image gallery, and then we want to arrange horizontally. Remember to save this as all files, so it'll be a HTML files. Okay, we are still at the styling. Besides setting the width, I'm going to use the class gallery dot gallery and open brace, margin 5 pixel, and floating to the left. So this will allows it to be arranged horizontally. The width is defined as 200 pixel, and the border to be 1 pixel solid black. And close. So this is using dot class, but at this point in the body, we have not defined which segment that we are going to use this gallery class for the styling. So let's continue the next page on our slide. Under the body for the first image, I'm going to add in this thing called division. Division using the class equal to gallery. And then that's for the first image. And with that, we also need to close this particular division slash div. Okay, so in that case, we have the image and the description as one division, one segment. And then the next segment will be for the second picture and close it with the close division. So these two divisions will be arranged horizontally, side by side. Let's do it for the third one. And then finally for the fourth picture and description. So using division, it will group the picture and the description together as one segment. Okay, so we have done that. Let's save our HTML4 for 4C and let's call out the browser and then drag and drop 4C into the browser. Now you see that the border has been defined, grouping the image and the description. So we have done 4C arranged horizontally using division, and then the class styling will be using gallery. Let's save our file as 4D. We want to centralize the text in the paragraph P. So centralize text in P tag, TAG. Do not use symbol for the file name, and remember to save as all files. So it's HTML file, save. Now back to the styling at the header, we want to define for the P. So P, that's for paragraphing. Okay, open brace. Let's define the padding to be 15 pixel. Now, what is padding? Padding will be between the border and the uh, and the and the content. Okay, and we have the text alignment to be centralized. Text align to be center, and then close with a brace. The rest of the content is the same, except for the paragraph. No, paragraph will use is all defined here, the P tag. Okay, so that will follow this styling in the header. Let's save the file, and then let's call out the browser. Drag and drop 4D into the browser. See, now the description is centralized within each division for the image. We will now deal with 4E, hovering over the image. When we hover over the image, we want the text description to change color. Let's save as 4E. Hover over image. And remember to save as all file. So it's a HTML file. We are not going to amend the gallery styling, but we're going to add one more gallery hover. Okay. So this class gallery. And then when we hover over it, it will take on open brace, the background color to be light gray. So this light gray will appear when you hover over the gallery. There's no need to change anything in the body. Let's save the file. Call out the browser. Drag and drop 4E into the browser. Now at this point, you don't see any color change. Let's hover over the images. Do you see the gray background when you hover it? Now the only reason why we hover it is because we want to click to select that particular image. So in 4F, we will try to make this image clickable. So we want to add a hyperlink reference to it. Let's add hyperlink to the full image. Save as 4F image gallery hyperlink to full image. Remember to save it to all files, so that's HTML file. Save. So where do we add the hyperlink? We add at the image portion. Okay, for image 1, we use the hyperlink reference equal to, since we kept the the image file in the static folder, and then we refer to this file name .jpg so that you get the full file. And when you have the A tag opening, you also must have the A tag closing. Okay, we'll do that for the remaining 3 image files. Let's copy the A hyperlink reference and paste it onto each image. Sorry, the hyperlink reference must come before the image. Let's cut off this. Okay, there you go. So that the image and the description text. Okay, the file name will be forest. And let's for the third image and close the A tag. And the file name is likes.jpg. The last file is a mountain. So let's close this, and this mountains.jpg. There you go. Let's save the file. Let's call the browser. Drag and drop 4F into the browser. Now you realize that the picture and the descriptions are clickable. And when we choose any one of these image and click, the full picture will appear. Using the back button, we can go back to the previous web page. So clicking on any of these hyperlink will lead you to the full picture. There you go. We have done a image gallery. Okay, next we'll be moving on to talk about submit button. Let's create a new HTML file. Let's start off with a text document and change the file name to 5A submit button.html. Open with Notepad. Okay, let's start off with a HTML tag and close with /HTML. For the head, and then we have the close of the head. Within the head itself, let's define a title, and let's call this 5A submit button. Close the title. At this point, we do not want to do anything about the styling. Let's go to the body, and then we have the closure of the body. Okay, once if within the body itself, we define a button, and let's label this button as submit backslash the close of a button. Okay, let's save this file. Call out the browser. Let's drag and drop 5A into the browser. There, you get a button. Okay. Now let's put some styling to this button. In the header itself, let's start with the style. And then we have the close of the styling. Okay. Let's define for button. The styling for button. Let's do an open brace. Let's have a background color color without the U, to be green color, and the color of the text to be white, no border, border to be none, the border radius. Now border radius will make sure that the edge is curved and not sharp edged. So let's use 8 pixel. The font size 15 pixel. The text align, we want it to be centralized, so it's center. The padding, so the spacing between the contents and the border, so that's the padding. Let's have 10 pixel all around, left, right, up, down. And then the cursor where you use to click the button is going to be a pointer. There it goes, and close the brace. Okay, so once we define the styling for the button will take on all this formatting. Remember to save it and call out the browser and refresh. There you go. So when you point the cursor, when you point the cursor to the button and you want to click on it, it is a pointer. See, it changed to a finger. That's a pointer. Let's go on to define multiple buttons so that you have a few color, different buttons. Save as 5B. Multiple buttons. And remember to change the file type to all files, so there's a HTML file. Save. So we are going to define a few buttons. Let's talk about the button itself first. We have the button. Okay, let's put a header H2. Multiple button. And then close the header H2. Okay, originally we have one button and it is green. And let's call this button to be green. Okay, let's define a few other buttons. We have a green button, five buttons, okay? One green, one blue, a red, gray, and a black. Okay, let's save this file and take a look how the formatting look like. Save, call out the browser, drag and drop 5B multiple buttons into the browser. Now you basically have 5 buttons and previously we have defined them to be green background with white wording. Okay, I'm sure we want to have the green button as green, blue button as blue, red button as red, and gray and black and so on. Okay, let's put in the formatting for the buttons. Now, I'm going to use the class .green, .blue, .red, .gray, .black to define the background color. So I'm going to remove the background color from here. So there won't be any background color in our button. And I'm going to define additionally a margin. Now this margin will make sure that the buttons are separated by 5 pixels. Okay, the rest remains the same. So let's go ahead to use the dot class. In the case of green button, I want the background color to be green and close the brace. Okay, let's define for the rest. Let's change. For the case of blue, we want the background to be blue. Red, we want the background to be red. So the class dot red, background color to be red. Next, we have the gray. And then the background color to be gray color, spelled as in Grey. So we put it as a light gray. Now, light gray with white will not stand out well. So I'm going to change the text color to override the white text to change it to a black color text. Okay. And lastly, we have a black button. So black button goes with white text quite well. So we only need to change the background color to black. So all these dot class styling done in the header has not been used yet with the button. So we need to allocate each of these button to a class. So for the green button, we say that the class is green. The blue button will use the blue class. Red button will use the red class. Gray button will use the gray class. And the black button using the black class. Okay, there you go. So each of these class will have the styling as defined in the header. Let's call the browser. Let's save our file and call the browser and refresh. There you go. The green, the blue, the red, the gray, and the black. So if each of these button is going to click to another page, then you will need to add a hyperlink to each of these button. That's all about the button and the styling for buttons. Hi, welcome back. In this demonstration, I'll be showing you how to use the CSS to do a layout for our HTML web page. I will be using the Notepad++ for all the coding. So this is a HTML file containing all the tag without any layout or styling. And this will how it will look like on our browser. Okay, other than the H1 heading that I've included for Singapore and the city. Now let me show you the end result that we are trying to get to. After all the layout and the styling, we hope that we have a header for the country, Singapore, and then we have a left menu, and then when we click on the city, the contents about the city will come out on the right hand side. So if you can see from here, essentially there are top and bottom, and the bottom portion is divided into left hand side and right hand side. Okay, so there are altogether three segments, the top and the bottom. Bottom consists of two portions. So in our HTML file, what we want to include in now is the divisions. Okay, I want to introduce the idea of divisions. Okay, so this is the top division, and then we have the bottom division that comprises of the bulleted left menu and the contents that is on the right hand side. So these are all in the bottom division. Okay, and for the uh, left menu, I'll use another division here. Okay, and close that division. And for the right portions, okay, I will have the content portion. So I call it a division here, and then another division here. Good. So if you can see clearly here, they are all together three portions. The top that horizontal that stretches across the whole web page, and then the left menu and the right menu. Okay. Adding the division here will not affect anything on our web page on the browser. Okay. Now, in order for us to achieve this kind of layout, I want to introduce the idea of the 12 column. Now, basically, if you look at the left menu, it occupies about 3 columns. And then the right hand side where you have the contents, it occupies about 9 columns. So this header stretches across the full length, which is 12 columns. So we are going to, in our styling, okay, on the header here, we put a style. I'm going to put in the 12 classes. Okay, so these are the 12 classes, 1 column, 2 column, and then each of them have the percentage. 3 column will occupy about 25%. 9 column will occupy 75%, and they both add up to be 100%, which is stretches across the 12 column. And how do we go about doing that? Okay, let's say for the first division for Singapore, we have the class equal to the column 12. Okay, let me copy this. And for the other portion, the menu, we are going to use the uh, column 3 column for the left menu. And then for this portion, the right content, we're going to use the 9 column. Okay, so each of these segment will later on can be formatted with its individual color, fonts, and so on and so forth. Okay, so let's take a look and see how it affects our HTML web page. Control S, Control S, and then okay, after we introduce the 12 column, 3 column, and 9 column, it seems that nothing has changed. Now let's take a look. For all the segment, let's say I'm going to format it with a border. Let's say I define a border to be 1 pixel, and I've used the solid black as the color for the border. Okay, and then we take a look and see what has happened. Okay, Control S. So actually, the top portion is actually 12 column, and then we have 3 columns for the left menu and 9 column for the content. Just that the content is not side by side with the menu. Okay, so there are two things that we need to do now. One, use the box sizing. Okay, you can Google and check out on what does box sizing do. Basically, it defines a boundary for the box itself. Okay, and then next, we define for all the column, all uh, those classes that has this col dash. Okay, all the classes that is defined this way. What we need to do is to align that. Okay, we float it. Okay, float it to the left. Okay, float it to the left. Okay, and then there it goes. Okay, so there are two things that we do. One is the box sizing. The other one is that we float all the classes with column to the left. Actually, we are just using the column 3, column 9, and column 12. Okay, let's Control S, run it. Okay, so you have the column 3 and column 9 side by side in this manner. I will now go on to format the header portions. If you recall, we have something that is a magenta color. Now, what I can do is I can use a online color picker to choose my color. Okay, let's say I like this color. Okay, let's define another class called header, and then let's do some formatting. Okay, first we have the background color as this color, the pink color that we have chosen. Then the color for the text itself, I can say that it's white. Okay, for white color, you can also use the hexadecimal as the hexadecimal FF. Okay, so that will give us white color. For the Singapore, we may want it to be at a centralized. So let's use the text aligned and try to align it to the center. Okay. Now for each of these formatting, you must remember to separate by a semicolon. Okay. So there it goes. We have formatted the header, and this is the class for 12, and that is besides class 12, it is also a header. Okay, so there we go. Control S and run it. There you go. Later on, I'll remove all the border, and then you will see that you have the web page without the lines for the segments. Okay, next I'll be formatting the left menu. Okay, I'm going to create another class called the menu. Okay, what should I include? I should include the background color. I'll choose a color from the color picker again, and then I will also choose my text color. Okay, I will still use white. Okay, I'll settle that for now. Okay, let's choose a background color. Let's say we want it something blue, sky blue maybe. So let's try, and then we have something that is in the blue region. Okay, let's settle for this blue. Okay, copy, and I'm going to paste it here. And for our bullet, if we put it at the column 3 and says menu, okay, I want you to observe what happened. Control S here, and let's run the page. Okay, as usual, if you try to look at the browser and nothing happened, check your coding. Do you see whether you separate each of the formatting with a semicolon or not? Control S. Okay, so this is not really exactly what we want. We wanted the blue color for each of the selection, not the whole menu. So actually what we want is not the menu, but it's actually the list item. Okay, we have a unordered list. So we want for the list item actually. So okay, so let's run this again, Control S and run it. And there you go. Okay, so you have the list item itself. Okay, for the bullet. Now, next thing you realize that the wording is actually too close to the border of the box itself. So we want to introduce something what we call the padding. Okay, so let's do a padding of 8 pixel, for example. Okay, 8 pixel. Control S. Okay, so it look good now. Okay, so it is actually away from the border of the box itself. Okay, so we can live with that. Next thing is that these, you know, the in between boxes, they are they are not separated. They are close together. So what we need to introduce is this margin from the bottom. Okay, let's separate by another 8 pixel. Okay, and remember to put your semicolon. Control S. Ah, that's how you get the boxes separated. Okay, from the each other. And next, we want to have this feature as we hover over it, it changes color. Now, when we hover over it, it doesn't change color. So how do we go about doing that? We can change the background color. Okay, let me take this. And when we hover over the bullet button, we call it hover. Okay, the background color will change to another color. Okay, so let's go to the color picker to pick a color. It was this blue, so maybe we have it something darker as it hover over. Okay, so this should be fine. Let's copy and then let's change the color. Okay, Control S, go back to our web page. Okay, and runs it. Okay, is it obvious? Not obvious enough. We may want it to be darker. Let's change it to something darker. Control S, refresh. Okay, that should be good enough. Right? As you hover over it, it changes color. So now left us with the uh, right content portion. Now for the right portion, the only problem is this padding. We don't want it to be too close to the menu. So what we can do is that we include that to all the classes. Other than having it float to the left, I can also introduce a padding so that it will go somewhere out. So let's say I have it as 15 pixel. Okay, semicolon, Control S. That should do the job. Okay, so there's what we have here. Okay, as I promised, we're going to remove the border so that it will just look good. Control S, and here we go. Exactly what we want. Okay, I hope this demonstration has shown to you how we can use layout. And if you take a closer look as you resize your browser, okay, it will maintain that 25%, 75% for these two segments. Okay, and then all the padding will make sure that the text don't touch the border of the box itself. And yeah, that's how it goes. Please try it on yourself. You can be very creative about this.